mic check, please.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ducks Unlimited podcast.
I'm your host, Dr. Mike Brazier.
I'm your host, Katie Burke.
I'm your host, Dr. Jared Henson. And I'm your host, Matt Harrison.
Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America. The DU Podcast, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, the official performance dog food of Ducks Unlimited. Purina Pro Plan, always advancing. Also proudly sponsored by Bird Dog Whiskey and Cocktails. Whether you're winding down with your best friend or celebrating with your favorite crew, Bird Dog brings award-winning flavor to every moment. Enjoy responsibly.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Ducks Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, Katie Burke, and today is special because not only do I have my friend George Strunk here, who is a decoy carver, but we are in his shop in Glendora, New Jersey. Glendora, New Jersey. All right, George. So I've tried to get you on this podcast for, well, as long as it's been on.
You got me.
So here we are, which I'm glad that I didn't do it before because now we get to do it here in your shop, which is way cooler than actually doing it, just talking on the phone. So, well, I always start off like everything first with like, how did you get in? I know you're a hunter. So how did you like get into the outdoors? Did hunting and outdoors come first or did decoys come first?
Hunting came first.
Hunting came first.
When I was younger, everybody hunted around here, you know, and my parents in the early 50s, 52, 3, they bought ground down the shore and built a little hunting cabin, fishing cabin.
So where would that be?
In
like
Goshen, near Dennisville. And our backyard was Dennisville Wildlife Refuge.
Oh, cool.
So, you know, it's pretty rural back then down there. And, you know, as kids, that's all we did. We went, whenever my parents had off, we were down there.
Yeah.
You know? So they built that before I was born.
Okay.
And me and my brother would go down. And
so are you the youngest or the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay. So y'all just kind of got to run around and do whatever you wanted, really.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's, you know, and before we were driving and all, we would walk back and duck hunt and walk through the, you know, play in the woods.
Yeah. So did you start off duck hunting or did you start off doing something else? Like how did...
I started off, when I got my license, we went rabbit hunting.
Okay.
That was the first thing I did.
Yeah. Okay.
And my brother started like, he's a year younger, but he kind of took to it a little more than I did. And so when we went duck hunting as kids, it was mostly his decoys and.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So did he make his decoys or did you all buy them for somebody?
It was a mixed match of corks and plastics and stuff like that. And we kept them down the cabin.
Okay.
And so yeah, until then, and I didn't start. Well, we had the cabin.
Okay.
And when I got older, it was the lot next door was for sale, and Jamie Hand bought it.
Okay.
And Jamie put out a sign, decoy maker. And I really didn't know there was guys still making decoys.
Yeah.
So I went over and met him, and he asked if I'd like to try it.
How old were you?
22, 3.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. And I said, yeah. And he cut me out a decoy, and it's just, I've been obsessed ever since. You know.
That's cool. So, okay. Just because, I mean, I don't know, and some of our listeners probably do. So, okay, what is hunting like, duck hunting like at that point when you're starting? So what does that look like duck hunting wise? What kind of marsh? What do you, like, what's that?
Well, it was
what do you shoot sort of thing?
Just salt marsh, a lot of black ducks.
So, okay.
Black
salt
ducks
marsh,
and teal. There seemed to be a lot more ducks then.
Well, yeah, it seems like there was a lot more ducks 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, you know, every bend you'd go around, you'd jump a ton
So
of black
you would
ducks.
jump shoot ducks, or would y'all
we
do a
would
mix?
we would hunt out of blinds. In the beginning, it was actually my brother had a little 12-foot boat, and we would go out in that, and we originally would walk out and set up a little hide or something, or a blind, a makeshift blind,
Right.
And that's how we always hunted, because I don't think you're allowed to build blinds. We never built a permanent blind.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
And as I got older, I got a sneak box, and then you could just move around wherever the ducks were.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah,
but having a cabin, I could go down a day or two early and scout and find out where everything.
Yeah.
is.
So did your dad hunt at all, or you and your brother just kind of
My
figure it
dad,
out?
he was a deer hunter mostly. And he hunted rabbits and he hunted ducks. Not when I was young, because before that he would hunt with friends down there.
Yeah.
And I actually have video from like the 50s of him going out. He would take video, and there were still little shacks out there.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
I had it put on DVD.
That's really neat.
So.
Yeah, it's like so. Okay, so your brother and you kind of figured it out on your own for the most part.
Yeah.
Do you have any friends and stuff that do it with you, or is it just you two?
No, we had a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
Everybody duck hunted back then.
It's interesting. Yeah, because we're so close to Philadelphia, right? It's just like right there. And I went to grad school there, and it's just that when I came up from Mississippi in grad school, and like when I told people I hunted, they just it was like so foreign.
Right.
They didn't know, they never met anybody. But it's so crazy because we're just right here.
Yeah.
It's how quickly it can change from up here.
Yeah, and we used to hunt there at the end of the street is the Timber Creek.
Okay.
Or Crick, as we
y'all say up here.
We always hunted down there,
Yeah.
You could walk across the tracks down here and go hunting on the other side of the creek and
shoot black ducks. Or would you shoot
down here? There was.
Do you get any mallards over here?
Yeah, there's mallards and a little more variety, pintails and occasional shovelers and.
Okay, I've never seen a shoveler over here. Yeah, that's cool. So you said like Jamie is who showed you about carving, but were you familiar with wooden decoys? I mean, before that, like when did you kind of?
Before that, about a year or two before that, me and my brother went to an auction down there, an old farm auction.
Okay.
And there was a basket of old decoys, wooden decoys. And I said, I think together we had like $100 on us or something.
Yeah.
I said, I want to buy them and, see if I can redo them,
Yeah.
And the auctioneer started, and they were going for $90, $100 a piece. I thought I could get the whole barrel.
Whole thing, yeah.
So that was and I just couldn't.
Do you know what they were?
I did. I do now.
Okay,
I found out who bought them, but they were Ludlam decoys from down that way. Yeah. And
they were.
I was just shocked what they were going for, because they were broken up, heads missing, and
oh really?
Yeah.
So that was your first, because I was thinking so actually my first, I never knew what wooden decoys were, because in Mississippi, we have no decoy history, or really any kind of object history there's a lot of waterfowl hunting, obviously, in the Delta, but there's just no physical objects that were made. And when I came up here for grad school, I did some work with Tucker, and that's the first, and I saw him and I was like, what's this? I don't know what these are. And that was the first time I ever saw them. And I was like,
decoys?
Yeah. Like wooden decoys. I just assumed everything was cork or plastic or.
Right.
I mean, it made sense, obviously, but we just never, they said there's just no decoy history there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they used them. Everybody I've ever talked to, because of the timber, I've talked, because Arkansas doesn't have any. They always said they just painted milk jugs black and stuff, and kicked water and.
Yeah, you don't see too many decoys from that area.
Yeah, there's none. No carvers from that area. None. There is when you get down to Louisiana, South Mississippi, you'll see them, but there's none in the flooded timber, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee.
Right.
There's call makers, no decoys. But yeah.
Yeah, I've never hunted down there, so I don't.
It's fun. I mean, we don't hunt timber in Mississippi anymore, but when they were, and I've talked to Dad about it, because he grew up in my hometown and he hunted there, and he said, yeah, you just had fun at timber. It's by the time they were close enough to see if there was a decoy, you were shooting them.
Right.
Yeah. So he's you're mostly just kicking water and you need waves and stuff. And and I don't know about here. And I always found this funny because talking to Cooper and them, on the East Coast, the best day is a stormy, wet, cold, miserable. And where we're from, it's bluebird skies and wind.
Oh, that's the good day.
Yeah, that's a good day for us.
Yeah.
Clouds are like the enemy.
Yeah, a little bit of snow is nice.
Oh yeah, well we don't get any of that.
We
Definitely
don't
not
get
duck
we don't
season.
get much of that anymore either. So.
But yeah, so it's just really different how that works. But okay. So you see those decoys, and then you in between that, like, are you thinking about wooden decoys in the like before you meet Jamie, or is it
Not really.
so?
Nah.
How much older is Jamie older than you?
Yeah, he's about 5 years older.
Okay, so how long was he carving before you?
He probably had 10 years carving before I met him.
So he started
roughly.
Yeah.
Well, he started. He had at least 10 years, I guess.
So
He was pretty good by when
was
I
he
met him.
already teaching people at that point, or were you like the first person he was like?
I don't remember because he would cut it out for me, and I would come home and I actually have it here. I should show
You
it
do?
to you.
Oh yeah, we'll have to grab it.
I took it home and I carved it best I could, and I got Rust-Oleum flat gloss paint.
Okay.
It's still a little glossy.
Is it
And
really?
I painted it with gloss paint. And I gave it to my brother years ago, and he just gave it back to me recently.
Okay.
So I have it here, but I'm a little embarrassed. But
What's your
it's
first? And you were how old? Like, how old were you again?
23-ish,
Yeah.
I guess, something like that.
Who was it I was talking to? I can't remember who it was. I think it was some like one of the Illinois guys of like that area, maybe. And they were like, "Yeah, you throw that first one away."
Yeah,
don't get too upset about that first one.
I made a pair of mergansers. My first mergansers, I got them back.
You did?
Yeah, because they were really bad. They were bad. And
I think I was at Grayson's and he has Cameron's first one, I think.
All right.
Yeah, and it's pretty rough.
Yeah. Actually, Jamie's brother bought the first duck off me.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, his brother Dave, and he said,
What'd you sell it for?
$35. I thought, wow, sure. I'll take it. $35. Yep.
Okay, so you took it home and you carve it. Are you bringing stuff back to Jamie at that point to
because
look
we were
at?
going down every weekend. I mean, we were down there all the time, and so I would bring it back the next weekend. He'd say, "Do this, do that," and
Yeah.
you know.
So at what point? I mean, because your styles they're New Jersey, but obviously you kind of go your own direction with it. So how long? What's the transition like through carving? Like as you keep doing it, and when do you start doing it full time? Like how long does this take? How long do you get to that point?
I was probably carving 10 or 15 years before I went full time.
Okay.
But I was doing ironwork,
Yeah.
so I was carving part time, and
Okay.
and I only went full time because ironwork got so slow in like 92 and 3,
Okay.
and that's about when I went full time.
Okay. How
But
many decoys were you making before you went? How many decoys were you making before you were full time?
I was making a pretty lot for part time, maybe 100 a year or so.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
Maybe 50
Were
to 100.
you as detailed painting?
Nah.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say yeah, because that would make it harder
Yeah.
to like
No, I was
pull out as
making
many.
pretty simple decoys, but about a year or so after I met Jamie, somebody came here and said, "Why don't you make them like we make around here, the Delaware Rivers?"
Okay, that's what. Yeah. Okay.
And I said, "All right, I'll try it." And then I sought out Bob White.
Okay.
So he was really the only one I could think of that I knew of making Delaware Rivers. So I met Bob, and he was really helpful with everything. He's always been great,
Yeah. So that relationship was important for.
Yeah, I got pretty friendly with Bob. Did a lot of hunting with him and Jamie.
Yeah.
I hunted with Jamie a lot because he was right next to our cabin. So
Yeah. So where's Bob from here? Is he close?
he's 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the other way.
Yeah, I actually met him this weekend at
did you?
Easton. Yeah, for the first time. And he's probably the fittest 85-year-old man I've ever seen.
He takes care of himself.
Yeah. So
I'll never be like that if I make 85.
it's aspirational.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never met him before. And I see that now that you say it. I never thought about the influence there. There is definitely.
He was really the only one I knew of making Delaware Rivers. It was it.
Was that an easy decision to switch to a Delaware River style? Like,
I always like doing different stuff. So
Yeah.
And I did both for years, and I still do occasional Barnegat style decoys. Too,
Yeah. So when were you like? At what point did you start getting clients? How did you start selling this stuff?
I think it was just
Like an organic.
word of mouth. It was pretty local. I did the Tuckerton show. I think first year was 85 or 6. I did the show.
And what was the Tuckerton show like at that
It was
point?
big back then. It was huge.
And were you meeting more carvers when you were there as well? Like,
yeah, well, everybody, hangs out.
Yeah. Yeah. And
then I met Russ Allen real early too.
Okay.
When I started.
When were you when did you start getting like clients that were like kind of continuously asking for more stuff and like you get some more that sort of thing? When did that
I don't know. In the beginning I would sell them to whoever and they were pretty cheap and I sold some to a store down in Smithville.
Okay.
And some guy found me from there and started ordering some and it just snowballs from there. And plus, you do Tuckerton, you meet people.
Right.
Just there was no cell phones. It was either a regular phone or you get a letter from somebody.
Yeah.
There's no communication like today.
And you're like, you're like doing that. So you can do like 100 a year. That's a lot to do 100 a year. Were you just doing like gunning style decoys at that point?
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. So mostly like hunting decoys for the most part.
Yeah, that was all I thought about was hunting decoys.
Yeah. So when did you move over to doing more decorative stuff?
I don't know. I did some. I don't know. The timeline.
You just kind of like you were doing this and you start seeing the more decorative stuff and kind of.
The more you do, the more you see, and you're influenced.
And
by
you want to change
stuff
something up, try something new, that sort of thing.
Like I was always interested in Barnegat and Delaware River decoys, like English and Swords and Horner, and the classic stuff, and then you start seeing crolls, and you say, I'm gonna try something.
Yeah. So because your decoys, like, I mean, obviously, like, you have the headpiece in there, you haul your decoys out, but then you're having to like come to these multiple piece sort of situation. And I'm guessing it offers a new challenge on.
Well, I've been wanting to try one of these for a while, and I just figured I'd give it a try, but you have to, this is a little more complicated. You got to paint both sides of the wing and then put them on.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of figure it out.
Yeah. And I know like with, because I was talking to Cameron about his dead mount and like when you get with the wings, like it gets complicated because like you're having to make sure the grain, he's like, that's a whole situation because like it's more delicate and then you're.
Yeah. Like even in here, there's dowels and I got a dowel going in through here and a dowel going in through here because this is where it splits.
Okay.
So you got to strengthen it in here before you carve it. So
how skinny is that dowel in there?
It's just like an 1/8 inch dowel.
Okay.
But it adds strength to this. So your grain it's coming across here. So you could just snap that off if you didn't have something in there.
Yeah.
I learned that by the first one I tried, I broke. I dropped it, I broke. so I'm going to put dowels in it.
Yeah, I never thought about that until he was talking about it because he was saying it was so complicated, like because he had that wing was hanging out, and it was like he's like, yeah, that thing took me forever to get it.
Yeah, it's
just right. Yeah,
yeah, it's a lot. It's you got to figure it out, and everyone's different when you put the heads on, and
And your bill it's all one piece, right? That's all one.
The bill?
Yeah. Is it separate?
No, this is it's just a dowel.
Oh, you just put the dowel in.
And I use a poplar dowel. Okay. So I can, if you use oak, it's hard to get that line in there and carve it. So it's not going to be used, but poplar's pretty strong.
Yeah, that's definitely
nice grain or no grain almost.
No grain. Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. So when do you change? So what is your paint style to start with, and when do you start changing your painting style? Your painting style is very, like you can pick out your decoys very, like it's very signature, like of you.
Well, I don't know if you change. I think you progress as you keep going.
Okay.
You keep carving. I think it's a long process.
So who are you looking at? Who are you looking at the paint that you were like, what you were inspired by, and what were you like?
Well, everybody really.
Okay.
Contemporary guys. Bob, I used to watch Bob paint. He would never really teach anything, but he'd let you sit there and watch him.
Yeah.
He was very casual. And then, you'd look at, I like the Ward's paint.
Yep.
Kroll, of course.
Yeah.
any paint you see that's interesting.
Yeah. But you
know.
have this softness to yours that's different I find than anyone else.
Well, I don't know.
I think it's different, especially like they're on the wall back here. I can look at the backs of those teal. They're like, there's a feather, there's like a softness to the feathers. Whereas like, the wards have that. I mean, there's a little more of it here where it's like sharper paint. Like, they don't quite soften it out the same way.
Well, I think Kroll did that a lot. He did
a little more.
A little more blending. And
yeah, it's just the way you do that.
Each one's a challenge,
Yeah.
And you try to get better.
So did you like look at them and think like, okay, I mean, you probably weren't thinking. I was thinking about this with like.
I don't think too much.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it. You're just kind of like doing it. And you're like, this is what I like. I like the way this is going, and you just keep kind of going. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just kind of thinking about like, as you're painting, this is what you're liking, and then you just kind of keep going.
And as you keep doing it, you get a little more confident. Like in the beginning, everything you do is, am I going to mess this up? And then you realize if you mess it up, you can fix it.
Yeah, because you're doing it with oil, so you can fix for the most part.
Just wipe it off.
Yeah. So how was learning that? I was talking about this with someone. I just interviewed, she mostly does like flat art and painting stuff. Rebecca Knight, she's like a newer wildlife artist.
I've seen her on Facebook.
Yeah, and she's gotten second in the duck stamp a couple times. And she just actually, she was at Easton and she carved and painted a decoy, her first decoy.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you need to talk to Josh, I think, because he's kind of in between, like doing that more decorative stuff. Like he'd be a nice person for you to talk to. But I was talking with her about like, and I a little bit, because like she knows how to build like paint, right? Because I'm not saying like this is just, but that learning, I feel like I painted too, like that learning of building color to get the color you actually want. It's a process because it's not necessarily intuitive. Like you don't necessarily, and I think for everybody realize like these colors will actually give you this color in the long run. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's a long, hard learn for guys.
So it was like watching Bob and stuff like that. Was that really helpful and kind of like?
Well, I watched Jamie and, he paints a little simpler, but you learn how to paint a straight line. And it's little stuff. It just builds and you just keep picking up new things and trying to figure out if you see a carving, how the guy did it. You try to figure it out.
Okay. So yeah, like when you go to shows and stuff, you're just picking up decoys and mostly like figuring out what's going on in there.
And I like the antique decoys.
Yeah.
So mine are more along that line. If I do a decorative or
you have though this is not, I guess, does Blair count as like Delaware River?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of the one. He's my favorite, and I love. You kind of have that similar body style, that sleek.
Well, yeah, Blair's was definitely an influence in Delaware Rivers.
Oh yeah,
totally different than English. I got it. There's an English up there. There's some Delaware Rivers up there, and
that's like it's such a because you get that fat body. If you go that way, it gets all like those little fat body Chesapeake Bay ones, and then but up here it's those sleek. I love those sleek. The form on them are just.
I like the Delaware River and the Barnegat birds. Like, you can't beat. It's hard to beat a Horner. Blair.
Yeah, the form on them is just. You don't even really need paint on those Blairs.
No, not really.
No, they're just so sleek. Yeah, I see that. I like that. It's kind of got I don't know though, because the form's so. It's not delicate, but it's just got streamlined. It's a much more streamlined form to a bird. Yeah. There's not a lot of fuss about it, but then it's pretty technical. I don't know, but I'm guessing it's pretty complicated to make it that way. Is it? How thin are those things?
What do you mean?
Is
hollowed out?
Yeah.
The
they're
Horners
so light.
were hollowed a lot more, I think.
Yeah, because they're so light.
When you take one apart, even Horner, he used a small little gouge and he took his time hollowing, and they're really light. But it depends,
Yeah.
I think Sheward's probably made a ton more and probably a little quicker hollowing them out.
Yeah, and I guess it really just depends. Like what were they making them for, right? Like if they're hunting with them or if they're selling them or if they're, like what they're doing with them. And that all depends on the guy, right? And what their job was like.
Swords and Horner and English and all, they weren't doing
They weren't doing
worried about decorative stuff too much.
No, and they were just, I don't even know that much about them. Were they guiding and hunting over their decoys, or were they selling them mostly? Or was it a mixture between all of them?
George was a house painter.
He was a house painter. Yeah, that's right.
So, I guess off season he would make them, or maybe all year. I don't know.
Yeah. We don't know that much about them.
No, there's guys that know more about them than me.
Yeah, I like, and I should know, but they all blend together because they all have like the same generic job description. It's like house painter or carpenter or fisherman.
I think they did whatever they had to make a living.
They had to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I can't ever remember which ones do which because I'm like they're all like basically the same.
Probably all house painters. House needed painting.
Yeah, house painting. Yeah, they're carpenters because they had to build something because they needed it.
Yeah, and they were just functional tools back then. Hunting,
So, George, what you got here? Tell us. Describe. Okay, so what?
Describe it.
Describe it. Okay, because we got some people who would probably just be listening to it. So describe it.
It's a duck body. And
what kind of wood?
This is Jersey cedar. So I use mostly northern white cedar. But,
okay, why? Is there any particular reason?
I seem to like that a little better, but I like Jersey cedar when it's a good piece. This is a pretty good piece. And,
what makes it a good piece?
It's soft. The wood is hard and soft. It varies a lot. So when you get a nice piece, it's easier to chop.
Okay.
So.
Go for it.
All right.
So how long did it take you to get that sure with those strokes?
I don't know. I've been doing this since I started, so I'm pretty used to it. But you always got to be careful because one bad move and this could go really bad.
So I'm guessing early on you'd have more where you'd make a bad move and then it's done.
Yeah, I've messed up a lot of stuff. You mess up when you start. Not too much lately. So we'll see. I mean,
what would this be? What's the end bird on here?
This is just going to be a Barnegat style black duck.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy to chop. There's no raised wings on it. You can pretty much get in there and get the tail pretty close to where you want it. It's going to be like a Swords or a Horner style. And pretty simple birds. So you can get it pretty close. Then and afterwards I'll go in with a spoke shave and gouges and,
okay.
But.
And just smooth it up.
Yeah, you can get it pretty close with this.
So you've already hollowed that bird out.
I hollow them all first.
Okay, yeah, because you can see the seam down the side. You've already hollowed it out.
A lot of guys carve them, then split them and hollow them, take them apart and hollow them. But I've gotten to where I can get it pretty close, and unless I want to get something super, super light. But I mean, if you start with a light piece, you
don't have to do as much.
It's not going to be that much lighter. So
do you have a pattern for this, or do you just
Yeah, I have a pattern for different,
When you're more consistent, like one of the ones you do more often.
Yeah.
Do you make a pattern for every decoy you do, or do you just the ones that you do more often?
The ones I do more often. Sometimes I'll just draw them right on.
Right on there.
Yeah, I mean, even the top I'll draw because I can get pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Then I can always change it a little. You can make it a little thinner.
Okay.
Just going in like that. there's no perfect set pattern. There is and there isn't.
Are you ever like working on one and then get inspired for another one and just like stop and draw a pattern, or like?
Oh yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Sometimes I never finish.
And then you never finish them.
There's a lot of stuff.
Like, I don't want to do that one anymore. I got something new to do.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll, like some of these minis, they've been sitting there for a long time. I just haven't painted them. They're done.
Yeah.
But so
I haven't felt like going back to them
at this
again.
point, I like to do what I feel like doing.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And somebody came up with a suggestion for one of these, and that's when I tried it. I thought, I'll give it a try. So.
Okay. Cool. It's just, I figured that because, like, I mean, early on, of course, you're having to do way more orders and stuff, right? But now, at this point, people are just buying your stuff.
Yeah.
If they like it, you can sell it.
If you don't feel like making something, it's probably not going to come out that great,
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, in the beginning, you do a lot of orders.
Yeah.
So.
Are there any that come to mind that, like, you got that inspiration? Do you remember, like, certain ones that you have favorites?
Yeah, I like black ducks, teal.
Yeah. But is there like certain ones that you like that you remember and are favorites?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that.
I like whatever I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, and then you're done.
Pretty much, yeah. I move on.
No, that's probably a very healthy way to look at it. Yeah.
You gotta like what you're doing at the moment. I kind of.
You like the work more than you like the end product. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't. It's all about making it at the time. When I'm done with that, I go to something else.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I change it up. I'll do decoys. I'll do something like this. I'll do minis. No more swans.
No more swans? Why?
Too big.
They're too big.
That I'm repairing that for
What about
somebody.
geese? Would you do geese?
Yeah, I would do geese.
Yeah.
But,
You haven't done too many geese, have you? It's not a fair share.
I've done a pretty lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I've seen a Canada of yours. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there was just one reason.
Is there anything you've never done?
I thought I never did a coot, but one showed up at auction a couple weeks ago.
You don't remember doing it?
I don't remember. I did it, but I didn't remember. Other than that, yeah, there's some things, but odd stuff, like I never did any stuff far, like Australian ducks or.
Have you ever done like a cinnamon teal?
Argentina. I've done cinnamons, yeah. Not a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be the one that I would be like, that's an odd one.
Yeah. So I do mostly stuff I know. Like those Argentine teal or something. I don't.
Yeah. Why would you? No. I mean, I guess if someone really wanted it, they're paying you enough money.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not.
Yeah. All right. So how far down will you get this duck, and then will you move over here? Like so.
Well, I'll move over to this when I get pretty close to now.
You can get it pretty close.
Well, I also sometimes I take a gouge and push it against here.
What do you mean take it?
And clean up.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if you can see this.
How old's the stump you use here?
The what?
How old is the stump?
That's my second or third stump. I don't remember.
That's not that many stumps over.
I got this when I started carving, and that's what I make all my my weights on.
Okay. And then, how old is this your little hatchet here?
This is from almost when I started carving. I bought this I bought just ahead of it for $3 down in Goshen.
Really?
Near our cabin, yeah. No, this one I bought for $1 coming back from Easton one year.
Oh, really?
I just found the head of it. I have another axe. I've only had two. One's back here. This is the one I bought in Goshen. And they're just small. It's a plum, and that's a Germantown hatchet.
You probably just primarily use this one. Is there a reason why you would even switch over to that one? Or I would think it'd just be preference.
I got this one. This one seems a little smaller. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're just small.
I would think it's just like a favorite brush, like when you paint, like there's just ones you like to work with.
No need to get another one.
Yeah.
I've had this this one's probably 40 years I've had it or so. This one's maybe 30. Ooh. So far, you know, who wears out a hatchet?
You just sharpen it and then move on. And I mean,
this,
everything you have, it's all pretty soft for the most part too. Like, okay, so then you take the gouge.
Yeah, I would face in here a little more, but
right for the camera.
Then I can clean. I'll see. I would clean it up a little like this, and then after you clean it up, you can get in here and with the spoke shave.
And get it smoothed out.
Yeah, and you can get it pretty close with that, and then you can define your tail a little more when you get down.
How old's your spoke shave?
How old's my spoke shave?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. These are old Stanley spoke shaves. I got like 3 of them.
Yeah.
You used to be able to pick them up really cheap, but
yeah, you use a small one. When I went to Pete, he uses a big one. Oh my goodness, it's tiny.
For detail work, you can use this and really get in tight for little stuff.
Okay.
And then you got this.
Okay.
So this is nice because you can move it around and spoke shave. So I do it all different ways, just whatever. Yeah. What I feel like at the time.
What's that gonna be?
This is gonna be a Delaware River black duck.
Okay.
Crosswing. This is a Barnegat black duck. Could be a mallard.
Yeah, yeah, they can be the same.
And then sometimes I'll get in like this. So you can clean up under the tail.
Yeah.
So I'll use whatever's
kind of move around.
Whatever works the best.
Tool. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
That's it. You want to try it?
Okay.
You serious?
Yeah.
But be careful.
I will be careful. All right, I'll let you talk me through it first before I do it.
Big liability here.
It's not a liability.
Hold.
I'm not going to sue you.
Oh, wait a minute.
All right, tell me how to hold this thing.
Just make sure, keep your knees out of the way.
All right.
Just give it a little tap.
Like here?
Nah, you're going to hit it right about here, like this.
Right there?
Just give it a little slight tap.
Oop. I'm nervous to like
I'm a little nervous too.
Hunk out of it. Okay, no, I want to do it. I'm gonna take a huge hunk out of it. Look at it.
You can't mess it up. I'll make it a teal if you take too much.
I'll make it a teal. It'll be like the thinnest teal you've ever seen.
So that's not that hard. You just gotta keep your hands out of the way.
Yeah. Okay. It's just like cooking.
Yeah.
Don't chop your thumb off.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's move into painting. Do like we did before, just in case anyone's not watching. Kind of describe our scene here. What you got out here?
I'm going to attempt to paint a green wing teal or part of it.
So you're going to start with the base paint. So what do you start? How do you start? Like what colors do you start with? How do you build up on it?
I'm only going to use raw umber, raw sienna, and white.
And you're
black
using
and white.
Just oil paints, right? Like
just oils. So I'm going to mix a little flat Rust-Oleum in with the white and the brown, the raw.
Okay, so why would you put in Rust-Oleum?
Just to help it dry a little bit, just a dab, but mostly pure artist oils.
Okay.
So I'm going to start.
Does it help thin it out as well, or?
Nah, if you want to thin it, you have to put a little. I keep a little drop of thinner on the palette.
Okay.
So I can just thin it with a little drop, just enough to make it move. I'll start with the primary. I'll come in and paint that. Then
And
once I
you've
paint,
already kind of laid out your
I did, yeah.
where your color patterns are and everything.
It's just a basic layout,
Yeah. Like there's your speculum and where your wing hits.
right? So I usually paint the primary, so then I can drag the secondary colors right through that color.
And so how far will you get along in that section, like building wet on wet until you need to like stop, like you'll have to stop and dry? Or you can't, because you won't go all the way to the like
No,
the
but
detail.
I can do a lot now.
Okay. What's your favorite part, carving or painting?
I like it both.
You like it both?
I like whatever I'm doing at the time. I like painting.
So if I'm not here
Mhm.
and you're painting, what's like going on in here? Like, do you have something playing? Like, what are you doing while you're?
Either music or podcast or something.
Yeah.
Probably one of your podcasts, maybe.
Do you really listen to my podcast?
I do. I've listened to a few of them. Yeah.
Did you listen to Guy Taplin's?
No, I didn't.
I
I'll
recommend
have
you listen to
watch-
that
I'll
one. I
have to
think
listen to that.
you'll find that one interesting. That was a
Okay.
good one. I didn't even know who he was.
No?
Yeah, he actually
I don't-
emailed me.
Oh, I don't know him, but I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's over in England.
He's in England, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I'll have to do that. Maybe I'll do it today.
yeah. I'll send it to you. And text it to you.
So,
Okay.
so basically, I'll do that and I'll blend it in a little. I know
The dry brush. So you take a dry brush.
it's dry and it's
Oh, look. And it gives it that soft
and
feather look.
you got to watch how much you blend it. And let me see. Then I'll put this other feather in.
And you've just got this memorized. You've done it so many
Yeah,
times.
teal or I pretty know. I don't have to look at anything for teal. So then I can lay in. Let me see. I'll lay in this just some raw umber. Get these back feathers going.
Yeah. If you are listening to this, you need to be not listening and watching, just because this is awesome.
And then I can lay in some other feathers. So it's pretty basic flat brush.
Okay.
I'll give you sort of a feather look.
Okay. I see where you're going now. Yeah. And you'll just kind of keep building on top of this.
Yeah, it's just kind of making it up.
Making it up.
But you know,
But you've done it enough times.
knowing what
it's
I'm
not-
going
yeah.
for. But and you need a little. Let's see. So I'm gonna scratch paint the back.
Okay. And so, I mean, like, because it's oils, like, I mean, obviously you couldn't, if you didn't like it, you couldn't quite, it's harder to fix, like, in the moment. I mean, you can a little bit, right? But, like, you would just let it dry and.
At this point, I could just wipe it off.
Yeah, that's true. You can wipe it off.
You know.
That was like, I remember learning that for the first time when I was, like, oil painting as a kid, that you could just, like, wipe it off.
Yeah,
and I was like, what?
If I messed it up right now, I could just wipe the whole thing off. But I'd have to probably prime it again.
Prime it again.
So I'm just gonna break it up. Maybe a little more. So I'm just getting it ready to scratch paint the back.
So you'll scratch paint it. And what do you use? What are you going to?
Let's see. When
Do you
I
have
blend
a
it,
tool for scratch painting?
I do.
Okay.
You're gonna see it in a minute. I got it right there.
Okay. How long have you had a tool for scratch painting? Like, I'm guessing they didn't always make those. You used to use something else probably to scratch paint.
No, it's just a comb that I put on a dowel.
So you make the you've made
Yeah,
it.
these are just they're little baby combs that I put on a dowel so I can use it like a
okay.
brush. But I'll put a little highlight in the middle, so it isn't one basic color there.
Okay.
And then you can lighten it up if you need to lighten it. So lightly, very, very lightly blend it. When it gets a little sloppy, you gotta keep drying it.
Yeah, because then it just kind of, you mix in colors you don't want in.
Right. You only want certain colors to run
You
into
keep
other
this pretty
colors.
thin. Like you're keeping the paint pretty
Yeah,
thin.
it's pretty thin. So I'll take this one. And start scratching it.
Yeah, and it gives it that texture, that
Yeah, you can do
feathered.
it. You can do it thicker, but
And this is Delaware style, right?
this is Delaware. It's a
Yeah.
it's a crosswing teal.
Huh.
And there's different ways to scratch it. You can do bigger loops or whatever you feel like a teal looks like.
Yeah.
And I can get in with a smaller one and do
And you get that end of the feather.
some lines in there. Got to keep this pretty dry too.
Well, I'm guessing like as you scratch, the paint builds up on that comb, so you need to go
It
back.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just keep a rag handy to clean it up.
I used to use when I painted that like white t-shirts. I would like hang. I'd buy them.
Oh yeah, we don't throw any shirts away.
They work really well for
They
that.
come out as rags.
Yep.
So it goes pretty quick if you
How much paint do you go through?
Um,
How often you buy paint?
pretty lot.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. So then it's from
Yeah.
pretty basic, but looks complicated, but it's really not that complicated.
Well, I beg to differ. You've done it enough times that it's so second nature. It's not complicated, but like anyone starting off, like they have to learn how to do this. Yeah.
So that's a little brown, I think. So I'm going to put a little black in it. And then I usually come in with from the bottom and blend it in.
Yeah.
So you can. Now I could leave it like that and scratch it, or I could put a little more white in it.
Yeah, because I mean the bottom, yeah.
So I don't really pre-mix anything.
Okay, yeah. You just go as you, and you probably
Yeah.
know that the colors are pretty well at this point, what you're getting.
Yeah, there ain't that many colors. I'm only using like 4 colors. So you know,
Yeah, I get that.
just variations on a few colors.
Well, you build off the color that you have, right? Like you have 3 colors, but you're changing them you mix them together. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing it.
And then you could put feathers underneath to make it a little more interesting. When you scratch
What brush
paint
is
it,
this? Use this bigger brush.
this is called a big brush.
Yeah, it's called a big brush. This is a medium brush. That's a dry brush.
Big one. So see your
Yeah.
colors underneath it should make it more interesting when you
You
scratch
add
it.
some depth to it. Yeah. And then you come in and you scratch. It's different. I'm guessing after you prime it, it doesn't matter the wood for painting it, right? Like,
What do you
or
mean?
does it? Does wood type matter for painting, or is it just like once it's primed, it's whatever?
No, this has a little bit of the grain raised on it.
Is that? I'm guessing that. I guess that makes it more difficult with the scratch paint. Then
Nah,
no, it
I
doesn't.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm so used to it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So if it's a little too brown, you can add a slight bit of black. So you can do a certain amount on this, and then you gotta wait for it to dry.
For it to dry, right?
So
And,
now I
and
need
oil, that's the thing. Like oil takes a little time to dry.
Yeah, but this will probably dry overnight enough to handle it.
And okay, just so like this is a good question to ask because I mean I know the answer, but maybe the audience, why oil over acrylic? Because like so many people do paint with acrylic, but I think obviously oil, I think it is better. And can you describe why?
I think I like it better. I think it ages well. It gives it'll well, you've seen these teal up here and those pintails that's not a artificial age. That's just from hunting with them for 10 or 15 years.
Right.
So they change colors. They get a patina on them.
Right.
With the oils.
And is it easier to paint with the oils for you, or do you find, or
I don't know. I don't.
Did
really
you ever
paint.
do acrylic ever?
I've tried them, but I don't. I've never really.
I always found the acrylic. I hated the way it dried so fast.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, even some of this, like the Ronins dry super fast, and I only use it to prime and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
And once in a while, I'll put a little drop in some of the slower drying oils.
Okay.
The tubes. But really, I only have I have some raw sienna that I use for priming, and so I think if you prime in that, it helps the oils dry.
Okay.
Also. That's my theory.
And I mean, you're working pretty thin, so that'll help it.
Yeah.
And of course, right, these are darker birds, so people don't know, but white takes a lot longer to dry than black. So it depends on what color your bird is. Yeah. Is that why you also don't do swans? Because they're all white?
They're hard to paint because they're all white,
yeah.
I think.
Well, because we've said this before on the podcast, but people don't realize, white isn't white. It's not just white.
Nah, they're not white.
Yeah, they're not actually white.
Nah. See, now, normally I would add a little Ronins to this because this color...
It's slower to dry.
It's just not covering as much as I want.
That's what I was going to ask. Because you can see the primer through it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go back on top of that. And
little shot of this.
Ooh, it smells.
This?
Yeah.
Can you smell it? I know, it's strong, eh?
Yeah.
So if I add that.
So what kind of paint is
that's
this?
Ronins.
What is Ronins? What does that mean? I don't know.
It's just a Japan color. It's got Japan dryer in it.
I don't even know what that means.
It dries faster.
Japan color.
Yeah.
So is it
it's got Japan
you just
dryer?
Get it where do you buy it?
There's a few places now. What you call it? Vincenti's have it down in Maryland, Havre de Grace. So I'll let that. But I could put a little something in it before it's going to need the dots on it,
Yeah, it's going to need the dots.
So at this point, I would probably stop with this one and let it dry.
And you paint the head last?
Yeah, I always paint the head last because I like to hold it by the head.
That
or
makes
the
sense,
tail.
yeah.
I usually paint that and the tail last. Actually, no, I'll go over that too. That's just sometimes it's hard to cover black. And then I'll do the speculums. There's a black stripe in there, and then all the
little details,
primary detail, but that's basically how I started.
Already you got a lot of feather detail in there. It's got that signature softness of yours.
Yeah, and I would let it sit a couple days and come back, and I could almost finish it.
How long? Yeah, how many times do you have to come back on a bird after you to paint it?
A few, because I got to wait till everything dries till I do the head and the face, and then I'll prime this out. I won't go. It's got a reddish head, so it'll take a while. I'll prime it out with a little. Even I put a little red with this to prime it out. I'll put some little red in it.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks. Not a lot of colors.
Well, I mean, most ducks are pretty brown.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm guessing does a hen take you longer than a drake just because of all the feather detail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's the one thing I love about decoys is the hen, in real life is like the duller one, but in decoys, they're usually the prettier of the decoy because of all the
Then they
paint
get
you
rid
do.
of my palette.
And then you throw that away. Well, George, okay. Before we go, is there anything like that we didn't talk about that you want to mention or anything like that before we go?
I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for doing this with
All right.
me.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, George, for coming on the show. Thanks to our producer, Chris Isaac, and thanks to you, our listener, for supporting wetlands and waterfowl conservation.
Thank you for listening to the DU Podcast, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, the official performance dog food of Ducks Unlimited. Purina Pro Plan, always advancing. Also proudly sponsored by Bird Dog Whiskey and Cocktails. Whether you're winding down with your best friend or celebrating with your favorite crew, Bird Dog brings award-winning flavor to every moment. Enjoy responsibly. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit ducks.org/DU podcast. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.